Good afternoon. Thank you everybody for being here. Welcome one more time to our health seminars. And well, many of you know Pastor Pa, but he would love to be here, but he's with his family today. So I'm going to be presenting today the speaker, and I'm going to be doing the lecture. We have the doctor that is going to do the presentation. We are going to be talking today about cancer and mass. And everybody has a family or a relative that has suffered or it is suffering about cancer. So Dr. Roy is going to be talking how to prevent, and also is going to, cancer is the second leading cause of death after heart disease. And so Dr. Roy is going to be showing in a scientific way what type of cancers are, and also how to prevent, some strategies to prevent and to protect ourselves in this world that we are living. And also, he's going to be touching a little bit about how lifestyle is going to help a lot to prevent this disease. So, go here. Dr. Roy is interventional radiologist or in-base radiologist practicing in Lake County and Santer County for the past 15 years. He is a graduate of Loma Linda University Medical School, and he was a professor at the school, medical school, and taught over there for 3 years prior to moving out from California to moving here to Central Florida. He's married with Aileen Chang and have 3 beautiful children, girls. And besides the regular practice, he also participates in a healthy lifestyle promotion and disease prevention. And today he is going to present our topic. And before we start, we are going to pray to ask the Lord to be with us. So I invite you to stand and let's have a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, in this moment we come to you. We know, Lord, that you are the source of our strength, and you give us wisdom in order to do good decisions and good choices. And in this moment, we just want to ask for your Holy Spirit to come into our lives, to give us understanding so we can grasp what Dr. Roy has today to share, to teach us, and to give us the power in order to put this counsel into practice. So in that way, not only us can be bettered, but also we will be able to help our families, our friends, anybody that it is around us. So we just want to invite your Holy Spirit to be with us and to teach us and to give us the power to overcome and do good decisions in our health. Thank you. We ask all these things in the name of Jesus. Amen. You can have a seat.
Thank you, Adali. Thank you all for coming. I'm a little surprised to see this many people today, but I guess all of us are touched by someone we know with cancer, and that's probably brought your interest here. But before we start with cancer, I have an advertisement of sort, not about my practice, but what is coming up, an exciting event that will be coming up here in our church next month, instead of a lecture like this, somewhat dull at times, we're going to have exciting creation health programs. And if you came in through the door, you got the flyer about the creation health flyers. What creation health is, if you know, Florida Hospital is a chain of hospital. One of their main campus is down in Orlando, but they also have a branch down in Celebration, which in collaboration with Disney, they have created Celebration Health. Over there, they also started with Dr. Cummings, Creation Health. And it's an exciting program to help with lifestyle prevention. And each of the topic, the word creation stands for something. And if you look, you can see. We are going to start this program next month, September 9th at 3 p.m. And every week, Saturday at 3 p.m. after that for 8 consecutive weeks, we're going to have one of these topics starting at C, go on to R, E, A, T, I, O, N. And we'll be done in 8 weeks. At the conclusion, shortly after, we'll have our annual health screening that we have at our church. So exciting things, programs are coming. Before I get started, the advertisement is at 3 minutes, introduction of creation health. And then right after that, I'm going to talk about cancer. Okay?
Imagine what it would be like if you could add more healthy, quality-filled years to your life. Think of all that extra time you could spend with your loved ones, all those laughs you could share with your best friends, all those opportunities you could seize to see more sights, hear more sounds, and experience more of the beauty of our world. Well, it really is possible, and believe it or not, it's within your control. You can live a longer, healthier, and a more fulfilling life just by making some better choices in your lifestyle. Decisions that can improve your health emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Our decisions really do make a difference. They can be the deciding factor between sickness and health. Many of the conditions we are dying from today, heart disease, hypertension, obesity, diabetes, and even certain cancers, are the direct result of poor lifestyle choices. But here's the good news. Many of these conditions can be greatly improved and even eliminated when we take positive action and make healthier lifestyle choices. Finding the blueprint for these healthier, life-giving choices has always been available to us. It's in the Bible's creation story. When God created our world, He set forth a plan to help us live life to the fullest in mind, body, and spirit. And the 8 principles of His plan are found in each of the letters of the word creation, in our creation health model for healthy living. In this creation health presentation, we'll explore these 8 vital principles for a more healthy and meaningful life, how the choices we make today impact our health for tomorrow, how rest can replenish us, how our environment can nurture our soul, how activity makes us stronger and more alert, how trust in God can renew our spirits, how the support of interpersonal relationships can fortify us, how outlook can help determine your well-being, and how good nutrition can fuel your entire system. You'll discover little changes you can make to fit these 8 life-renewing principles into your lifestyle. Small adjustments that can reap big rewards and turn your health and your life around. You'll find yourself feeling happier and more satisfied as you learn to embrace life, pursue life, and live life to the fullest, the way God intended for us. So let's get started, because just a few positive steps in the right direction can take you to a better place than you've ever imagined.
Doesn't that sound great? If we can change our life with 8 simple lifestyle changes and make you happier and healthier. So anyway, remember, in 1 month, we're going to start the first of the 8-part series, and it's going to go every week for 8 weeks. So make a plan on your calendar and check that time off to come over here for these exciting programs. Okay, cancer. What is cancer? Well, people think of cancer as perhaps one thing or 2 things, but there are so many different kinds of cancers. Actually, there's over 100 types of cancers. And most of the major cancer can be prevented. And what is the definition of cancer? Well, cancer is a normal cell that gone abnormal. And what does it do? When it is abnormal, it can grow and grow and grow without any check. And besides growing without check, it can also eat or invade into other part where it doesn't belong. For example, a lung cancer, when you say lung, it should stay in the lung, right? Well, when it becomes cancer, it can spread somewhere else. So that's some of the definition of cancer. Cancer does not have to be solid, where we think, some people say, well, cancer is carcinoma. Well, there's several different types of cancer. Cancer could be carcinoma, it could be sarcoma, it could be leukemia, it could be lymphoma. But these are all different terms that you really don't need to know, because cancer is based on one thing: a normal cell that's gone abnormal. And once we know what it is, the talk today will talk about the statistic. Why is it important to know about cancer? 2, in order to prevent the cancer, we have to know why or how it attacks us. Then lastly, we'll have some strategy on how to prevent some of these cancer. So let's continue to the next one. Okay, this is one of the this statistic is really something that a lot of people don't think about. But if you really look at the number, in 2012, 14 million people in the world will have cancer. Well, what's 14 million? Florida population is 20 million. The 5th and the 6th largest state in the United States, Pennsylvania and New Jersey, they're about 14 million. Think of every person in New Jersey or every person in Pennsylvania will come down with cancer. That's how many people in 1 year gets cancer in the world. And it's going to go up to 21 million, which means by year 2030, every person, equivalent to every person living in Florida, will come down with cancer. That is a big number. Then, besides that number of people getting cancer, you have to look at how many people die from cancer each year in the world. 8 million in 2012, and it's going to jump to 13 million. 8 million is a good-sized city. Well, actually, it's a major city like Los Angeles and New York. Every person in Los Angeles and its metropolitan or New York City, gone, dead in 1 year. That's how much and how big cancer is. But then you look at this slide and you say, well, majority of these are in this Asian, African, South American country, not really close to home. You know, they all die from other disease anyway. Well, true, but Bring it closer to home. Cancer. Well, what causes death in our country? The number leading cause of death is still heart disease, heart attack. People die from heart attack more than any disease in this country. But what is number 2? Cancer. It was not cancer before, but now it's cancer. So you can read down the list of the 10 most common. And a lot of us have these diseases that we live with and stuff like that. And some may kill us, some may not. Let's look at cancer closely because cancer is actually quite deadly. Next slide. If you look on the bottom, it goes from 1950 to 2000. And then we'll look at from 2000 on the next slide. What do you see? The total number of deaths, this is per 1,000 population. You see that people are not dying as much per 100,000 people. Overall, you can see the total death rate have dropped dramatically. And the big part of that is heart disease is being treated and people can live a longer life with heart disease. You see that second line that drops? Well, look at the yellow line. What do you see? Cancer for the past 50 years. Death rate in cancer has not changed much at all. In 1950, same amount of people die, or at the same rate then till 2000. Good news is that from 2000 on, and this is one of the latest statistics in 2017, you can see that the top 3 bars is male, combine the two sex, the female incidence. What is incidence? Incidence is new cases of cancer, okay? Then the last 3 line is the number of, or the death rate, mortality death rate of male combined and female. You can see that incidence or the number of new cases of cancer peaked in 1991. And then you see that dramatic drop the next 4 years or 5 years. Who knows why? Somebody wants to make a guess? I heard it. Stop smoking. Exactly. When the government pushes hard and tell people to stop smoking and people listen, the rate dropped and dropped dramatically. And it dropped for both male and female, but more for male because there are more male smokers than female. And for some reason, female smoker did not quit as fast as the male. And that's why you don't see the incidence drop dramatically in female. Okay, the other thing is you can see that from 2000 to 2014, the number of new cancer has dropped. Also, the number of death rate has dropped, meaning we are doing something better in curing cancer. We are knowing a little bit more. Next slide show what it would have been in 1991 if the rate of cancer spread up, and that would be the red line for both male and female. Because of education, smoking cessation, and other lifestyle changes, early detection, the death rate has dropped quite dramatically, if you think. Over that time period, over 2 million people's lives have been saved because of that. If the cancer growth has gone straight up without that change in prevention, early detection, and possible cure. 2017. On the chart there, you can see estimated new cases of type of cancer, and these are the top 10 and the death. And you can see that in male, it says that if you live long enough and you are male by birth, nowadays you have to say birth because some people do change, you will develop prostate cancer if you live long enough. That's just the way it seems like it is. If you live up to 120, if you do, male most likely will get prostate cancer. That's what the belief is. Is that true or not? We're not 100% sure. But prostate is the number one cancer in male. Breast is in female, 30% of new cases of cancer is in breast. This does not account skin cancers such as basal cell carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, where you go to a dermatologist and say, oh, that looks suspicious, let me cut it out. Yeah, you have this cancer, skin cancer. Come back in a year and I'll look some more for it. But these does not include that because those are considered benign or less invasive. I should not use the word benign, but less invasive, and they do not usually spread elsewhere. So these numbers do not include that. So the interesting thing about this statistic is that the number one cause of death of cancer is lung, even though the number one new cases of cancer in each of the sexes is not lung. So lung cancer, if you have lung cancer, the chance of you surviving is a lot less than if you have prostate cancer or breast cancer. And that's what it means. But one more slide, next. You will see that most of the cancer happens, 87% of new cases of cancer happens after you turn 50. So the golden years are the years that most people will develop disease and cancer. Does that mean young people like you guys don't have to worry about it? No, because there is a latency. What's the word latency? It's just a fancy term meaning the time that a small cancer started till the time that it become detectable may take years. And 50 and older is when you start finding them, but below that, you may not find them, but you can prevent them when you're at a younger age. Okay. This is, again, just to show what type of cancer, just like the other one, what are the new ones, and some of you may personally have some of this cancer, and you look at it and say, okay, that's what I have, or that's what a friend of mine has, and in relation to the rest of the top 10 cancer. It's a little small. Hopefully you can see it. This one is the death rate of cancer. So if you are been told, or someone in your family told that you have lung cancer, well, the death rate depends on how well it's cured. If you have stomach cancer, your death rate will go down dramatically because there is not as much cases. But if you're told that you have pancreatic cancer, you can see that straight line across. We are not able to cure pancreatic cancer. If you're diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, pretty much don't do anything. Go enjoy life. Because there's not much you can do. But the good news is leukemia and lymphoma, young people cancer. It happens a lot in little kids and younger people. 60 to 80% cases of leukemia and lymphoma, blood cancer, can be cured or controlled. And that's the good news. And you can see that leukemia line is going down, pancreatic cancer is going straight across, and then others are kind of hovering there. Okay, so again, busy. All this thing is trying to show is that there is race different in cancer. And the type of localized mean cancer that just happened inside the organ. Regional mean it might have spread to adjacent lymph node. Distant means it's gone far away, meaning it's gone to a different organ. So you can see that in all race, white, black, and different type of cancer. And usually, these are just the number. The next one show you the percentage of each of these at the time of diagnosis. And you can see that majority of the cancer in Black tends to be a higher stage than in white population. And the reason is, we believe, is access of health care. It's leveling off now that we have more access for Hispanic and Black. And that's all these is showing. Okay, what does this all mean? All these numbers, it's lots of big numbers. But what does that mean to each one of you? For male, each one of you look to your neighbor that sit next to you, that's male. Between you and that person, in your lifetime, one of you will get cancer. That's what this means. 1 in 2 people who is male in your lifetime will end up with cancer. Okay? Then it goes down to, in prostate, 1 out of 8 people will get prostate. And it just keep on going down, the same scenario. Now you wonder, well, how about in female? Better, a little better. 1 in 3 female will get some type of cancer. So if you're female, you can look one more person beyond, and between the 3 of you, 1 of you will have cancer. That's what this slide means. And the most common one is breast. That means 1 in 8 female would come down with breast cancer in their lifetime. These are big numbers and hit you personally. So what can we do to turn those numbers and those statistics in your favor? 1/3 of cancer to about 2/5, 33 to 40% of cancer can actually be prevented. I'm talking about prevention, talking about no cancer. I'm not talking about early detection where you find cancer at an early stage and then you can cure it. No, I'm talking about no cancer, okay? I'm not talking about early detection here. So before we know how to prevent that, we need to know how cancer forms. If you're going to prevent a thief to rob your house, you need to know where your weakness is or where to, put extra lock in your door or whatever. So let's look. There's a little busy slide, and initially I was going to put in a lot of scientific data, and then I say, I'm just going to put you all to sleep. So it's going to make it a little simpler. Start on top, what do you see? Normal cell, right? Well, cancer, as you live every day, wear and tear, exposure to different things, unhealthy habit, no rest, stress, whatever, it's going to cause your cell to be damaged. And the blueprint of everybody's cell is in DNA, okay? The DNA is what makes you. And it makes the next cell that is yours the same as the first one. And then you have yourself the way you are. If you have DNA damage, it can cause a lot of things. A lot of time, when you have a DNA that's damaged, that cell ends up dying because it produces some other proteins or other chemical that is not compatible with the rest of the cell, so your cell die. And that's it. That's the end of it. Or it may produce something that your body immune system will come and attack and kill it. But if you have mutation, which is changes in your DNA, it can then produces a slightly different type of protein or enzymes that your body use, and then it can causes cancer, which we already mentioned. What is cancer? Well, cancer is abnormal cell that continues to grow without being checked. It keeps on growing and growing and growing. Well, where did it start? It started with 1 cell, then becomes 2 cells, then 2 to 4, 4 to 8, then it starts going and going and going until we become big enough for someone to see and become a problem. This is what it says. Normal cell, it divides. You have a damage. The normal cell may, what we call apoptosis. All it is cell death, self-killing of the cell. The cell becomes unfunctional, it dies. That's normal. No problems. The problem is you have this cancer cell that keeps on growing, and then you have another mutation and a damage, and then it keeps growing to the point where it becomes unchecked. And then it keeps growing and growing. What are the characteristics of cancer cell? There are 6 characteristics of cancer cell. You can look at it. You have growth, abnormal growth signal, meaning it just keeps growing. It does not respond to inhibitory signal, meaning if your body keeps producing something it doesn't need, the body will feedback and say, hey, I have enough, I don't need you anymore. So it will shut that down. Well, cancer evades that. It evades apoptosis, meaning it evades it trying to kill itself. If it's abnormal, the body will come and try to kill it. It goes away. And you can read, unlimited replication. It keeps growing and growing. It is invasive. It will go somewhere else. It will send its little troops to somewhere else and start taking over, like a soldier going into a different city and invading all over. And also it's sustained angiogenesis. All it means is it produces small little blood vessel trying to get nutrient that it needs to grow. It's like if you look at some sci-fi movies and computers start pulling juices, electricity from other places try to grow itself. Similar to that. It wants energy, it wants nutrient, it wants that sugar to grow. So it produces more little blood vessels trying to get more of that. And that's what it all means. Okay, now, what are some causes of cancer? Well, you can be born with cancer genes. And we know some people, even in our own midst, that we know that have genes that predispose them to cancer. And unfortunately, the person I'm thinking about, she is in her last day of her life, and she is in her 40s, 50s. Anyway, that is only a small percentage of the cause of cancer. The bigger cause of cancer is external. You did not born with a gene that predisposed you to cancer. It all happens after you were born. What are some known causes? The big ones we know of: cigarette smoking, chewing tobacco, any tobacco product. Alcohol is another big one that people know about but tends to brush it aside or try not to think about it. Occupational, diet, radiation, most of us don't have to worry about that unless you are a pilot, commercial pilot, or you're a flight attendant. A transcontinental flight from East Coast to West Coast is equivalent to one chest X-ray exposure to the person. So that is how much radiation. If you live up in a higher elevation, you get more radiation, cosmic radiation. So anyway, a little statistic there that is somewhat interesting to me. Maybe not to you. Well, for me, radiation is a big thing because I work with radiation all the time. X-ray, I get exposed every day, so I'm very keen to that. Besides chemical, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more, infection is a big thing too. We all know that certain viruses can come into your body, incorporate into DNA, and changes the DNA, and then turns it into cancer. Well, one of the biggest thing is the hepatitis cancer. It used to be hepatitis C and hepatitis D has no cure. Well, hepatitis C now has cure, but it's very expensive. Hepatitis B also predisposes you to cancer, and that is very common in Asian and African countries. One of the bigger ones now, which every young kids probably will experience or have some contact with, is papilloma, HPV, which is genital herpes warts. Now, the reason I say the kids know about it is because when you're before or around your teenagers, you have to decide, do you want the vaccine to prevent hepatitis, or not hepatitis, HPV virus, and the parents has to decide, do you want to give it to your kids or not? But vaccine will prevent you from getting genital warts, and it will prevent you from getting potentially cervical cancer or cancer of the cervix of the uterus. Bacteria is another one. We know that peptic ulcer is caused by this bacteria, Helicobacter bacteria. It also predisposes you to gastric ulcer that leads to cell damage that eventually can cause gastric cancer. So that is linked to that. So this is another statistic that that we should know. Some of you may say, well, I was born and I have this predisposition to cancer. Only 15% of cancer is like that. 85% of cancer is not due to that. It's due to some of it is due to your occupational, environmental, or lifestyle. 85% of that. Three main causes of the external cause of cancer or carcinogen: chemical, physical, and biological. We touch on that a little bit, so I'm going to go into it. The chemical part can be broken into two. It may directly cause the damage to the DNA, or it's indirectly, so it's broken down in the body into another compound or chemical that attack your body, or it may changes the composition of the cells regulation that cause the cancer to be promoted. So those are indirect versus direct. What happened is the direct carcinogen will attack DNA, RNA, and proteins, which is your cell regulation. And it may cause damage to the DNA or change in the DNA. It may damage the protein, causing the normal way of trying to control cancer to be uncontrollable. So those are the direct way of doing it. You have probably heard of some of these chemicals: nitrogen mustard and nitrosomethylurea, benzoyl chloride. If you were in a lot of manufacturing of or producing plastic or some of these chemical plants, you might be exposed to these. Again, these are minor cause of cancer. Again, more of these names. A lot of these coming down to the last one. Well, the burn thing, the chimney suit, the burn meat on your charcoal when you grill your steak and you burn the meat or your vegetable, or if you smoke or chew tobacco, those chemicals can directly cause cancer. This is back in 1775. They were known that cancer occur in people that will go out and throw out coal, or and their hand will turn into have this growth, or in their scrotum for male. And then the knowledge evolved into 1891. This Japanese doctor is putting the chemical on the rabbit's ear, and it turns into tumor. So these are direct proof that these chemicals can cause cancer. Well, we know more than that. This is the slide that I want to emphasize too. Because some of you may say, well, I live close to 3 Mile Island when I was growing up. Or I lived close to a leather tanning factory when I was growing up. I'm predisposed to cancer. Yes, you are, but most cancer in that scenario where you live close to pollutants, it's only 1 to 4% of the overall cancer. You might think where you live is a big thing. Yes, it is, if you live there for a long, long, long time. But it only costs 1 to 4%. So what are the other causes of cancer? Um, again, a lot of these are more occupational or choices where you have to work out in the sun, or you love to go sun tanning or go tanning. There are drugs that cause direct cause of cancer. Some of these are actually cancer or chemotherapeutic agent itself that can cause damage to the cell or kill the cell or change the DNA. Okay. Radiation, which is somewhat close and dear to me because I am exposed every day, tends to cause more of the sarcoma type, which is a different type of cancer than the carcinoma type, more of a connective tissue type of cancer. Okay, keep going. Well, this guy showed that, you see that little back on the corner there on top, the growth in the finger? Well, he showed that if you're exposed to a lot of X-ray, you can have a funny growth in your bone. Viral, we talk about that. Hepatoma, cervical cancer. Epstein-Barr is an interesting one. It is one of these viruses. It's called mononucleosis. Nickname of this disease is kissing disease. People in a close proximity, like in the dorm or something, may have a spread of mononucleosis when they start living in a close proximity, and they start, transmit by kissing and stuff like that. Well, anyway, this cancer may only cause mononucleosis and nothing else, but it's also known to cause lymphoma and also cause nasopharyngeal carcinoma. Why? We're not 100%, but we think, again, your body will go around, look for these cancer cells, and the immune system that God built is so good in looking for foreign things that doesn't belong in your body, and kill it. So if you boost up your immune system, I think you can change these viruses from being one to or the other in its final outcome. That's my theory. I think it has a lot of scientific support. Okay, now that's the part that, again, this is a big topic, and I cannot really go through specific of how you can prevent, but these are, if you follow these 6, 7, or 8 suggestions, they say that you can reduce your risk of cancer by up to 40%. Okay? So instead of 1 out of 2 male that will have cancer, you may reduce it to 40%, 1 out of 3, or even in the female, 1 out of 4 or 5. That's a big percentage drop. Well, again, not to emphasize that cancer kills a lot more than AIDS, malaria, TB combined. Let's keep going. Okay. We already mentioned 30 to 40% of cancer can be prevented. But the last part of that also is important. Early detection will reduce your chance of dying from cancer for another 30-something percent. So combine good prevention plus good surveillance, you can beat the cancer death odd by up to, if you add them all together, 60% almost. That's a very good odd. Okay? Not going to talk about early prevention because that's a big topic for each different organ. There's different tests that they recommended. That's a different talk. We're going to talk about prevention only on this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 things that you can do. If you can do this, you can reduce your cancer risk by up to 40%. Guess what? If you look at Creation Health and you look at that list, it is almost 60-70% similar in that if you follow creation health, that is also a cancer and other disease prevention. Okay, let's go through them individually for the last, well, I got 10 minutes, but it's probably going to take a little longer than that. Tobacco, we know that cigarette smoking, chewing tobacco, secondhand cigarette smoking contribute to 5 million people worldwide. An average of one person every 6 seconds. So you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One person will die from lung cancer, from tobacco smoking. Okay, what does smoking or tobacco product, what type of cancer? Well, big one, obviously we know is lung, because you smoke it in. And everything that passes through from the mouth down, your mouth, your throat cancer, your nose, your sinus, those are all direct contact with the fume and chemical, right? But the chemical get absorbed, and it also causes problems elsewhere, like the liver, the pancreas, the stomach, breast, kidney, and eventually it gets excreted in your urine, so it abates in your bladder cancer. So these are known to cause, cigarette smoking cause these type of cancer. Direct link or association has been proven without a doubt. Besides cancer, tobacco is number one cause of risk factor in heart attack. So if you stop smoking, if you smoke and you stop smoking, you can cut your disease or prevent number one cause of death, heart disease, number two cause of death, cancer, number three cause of death, pneumonia and infection. You can eliminate 1, 2, 3 just by doing one thing. Stop smoking. And if you know someone in your family that smoke, put that in their mind. This is the best health decision they can make in their life, is stop smoking. Okay. This is just to say that secondhand smoking does have caused about 600,000 premature deaths in just 1 year. And most of those are in children, happen to live in the same family as their parents smoking, unfortunately. Okay. Now, the next part has to do with nutrition, or stuff that what we take into our body you can help with changing those. And they mentioned that approximately up to a third, about 30% of cancer can be prevented just by doing this, and that's exclude, or for someone who does not smoke, okay, or it's exclude tobacco. Okay, let's look at it. Obesity. What does it mean? What does it mean, obesity? You know BMI? Body mass index? Well, if your body mass index is greater than 25, then you are overweight. That's not what you want. You want to be lower than that. So it has been shown that if you're overweight, you have higher chance of cancer, and it has been linked to esophageal, colorectal, which are cancer in the gut. For female, breast cancer and obesity has very high correlation. Part of that, we believe, is the hormonal effect of fat cell and the breast. And also endometrial, which is another female-only cancer. And then the kidney cancer, which is not as common, but I personally see kidney cancer or new kidney cancer I would say almost every month. Okay, what can you do to control obesity? You all know that what you take in and what you burn out, if it doesn't balance, if it's balanced, you'll maintain your weight. If one is higher than the other, you're going to gain. Trying to do that is not easy. Trying to choose the right food or right type of food that has lesser calorie or has less absorption or slower absorption helps. I don't have time to go through that. I know some of you may want that. The last part of Creation Health is nutrition, and they will go through that more in depth. So in 2 months or 3 months, if you want to know that, come to that lecture, come to that program. Okay? But I just want to be sure that you understand that higher weight increase your risk of cancer, and that is a known scientific correlation there. So all this is telling you, choose the right one, choose the less caloric food, less fat, more vegetable, more fiber, more of the plant-based diet rather than dairy. Okay, keep going. Okay, the reason I put this is not to tell you that you should consume less meat. You should avoid meat completely. But what I want to say here is that processed meat. You know what processed meat is? What? Give me an example. Bologna. Hot dog. Okay. Hamburger, not so much, because it's not preserved. Hamburger could be from a fresh ground meat. Bacon, ham, turkey meat that they preserve in a can that a lot of us give away for Thanksgiving or eat for Thanksgiving. Those are all processed meat. Anything that did not come from an animal that's been frozen or refrigerated, but that has added salt, smoke, spice, cure for a few days or longer. It's processed meat. It is a huge industry. It produces billions and billions of dollars every year. It has been linked to cancer. The U.S. government and its agency will not label it carcinogen for fear of losing all these dollars. Who came out with that? World Health Organization. You heard of WHO, World Health Organization. 2 years ago came out and said, processed meat is carcinogenic. It is cancer producing. But you don't see that, you ever buy something and it says on the device, this product contains Article 65 or Chapter 65, known carcinogen in the state of California. Well, you're not going to see that in your ham because the food industry lobby is so powerful. But it should be there, but you will never going to see that. So that's why I put that in is do not, if you have a choice, do not eat processed meat, hot dog, bacon, ham. Okay? Next, salty food like salted fish, salted meat that they preserve also is not good. Besides cancer, it also causes a lot of high blood pressure and heart disease. Okay, the next one is another big thing for our American. Because can you imagine a restaurant that can't sell alcohol? They're going to go out of business, right? The first thing they want to push is drink. And you say, well, I just want water. The waiter is like, okay, I'm not going to get that much tip anymore, right? Well, anyway, alcohol is another one of these. There are people that say, well, there are studies that show red wine is good for the health of your heart. And it's been shown by some places and it's been touted. Well, U.S. government and its agency dare not to say that it's not. But if you go to Australia, National Heart Foundation of Australia came out and said that there is no scientific proof that red wine helps with heart disease. Okay? But you're not going to see that in the U.S. because Napa Valley Vineyard's going to be all upset about it. Okay? So what did they compromise? They tell you, avoid drinking too much. Or drink for male, 2 drinks only. For female, 1 drink. That's all you should do. That's what they say. So 2 drinks a day for male, 1 drink a day for female is kind of what they compromise. And it tells you all this literature out there, even the cancer and the public health. But then they come and said that even at that, we know that there is higher chance of cancer if you drink that little. But if the more you drink, the more chance of having cancer. Well, why is that? Well, alcohol, if you rub it on your skin, just like the rabbit foot, that picture I showed earlier, it's not going to turn that foot into cancer. Why? Because alcohol is broken down in your liver. It turns into other chemicals. One of them is formaldehyde type. And you know what that is used for. Preserving things, right? So it causes liver problems. When you cause liver problem, you damage the organ. What happened to the damaged organ? Either it dies off or it turns into abnormal growing cancerous cell. So again, that's one of them. But it's not only liver. Breast cancer is a big correlation between drinking and female breast cancer. If you want to not be one of the statistics as a female, don't drink. Not even 1 drink a day. Okay. Esophageal, mouth cancer, laryngeal, pharyngeal, these are direct cancer. Alcohol does burn. As you know, if you drink a lot of alcohol, it will burn. It also will cause cell to die. One of the ways that I can kill off, if somebody have a cyst, a liquid-filled tumor, and they come to me and say, well, it's causing pain in my kidney, I will put a tube in there, I drain all the cysts. Then I put in 1/3 of the volume of that cyst, absolute alcohol. It goes in there, it burns the cell around it, and it kills that cell, and that cyst is no longer alive. That's how I treat them. So alcohol do kill cell at very high concentration. So when they say don't drink alcohol, and if there are 2 things that you're going to do in your life to change your cancer risk, cigarette smoking and drinking are the 2 main things that people can do to change your risk factor. Okay, keep going. Oops. Physical inactivity. For some reason, it is not really directly related to being overweight. Even people who are not overweight but inactive, they have higher chance of cancer than people that are active, even though they're not overweight. So you may think, well, inactivity, that means you are overweight, so that goes into that obesity category. No, there is an independent risk factor for being in activity. And we're not sure exactly why, but there is a link. A lot of it may be due to the process of the body is made to move and to utilize, and when you use more of your body function, it becomes more a tip-top state. You want to, it's like having a boat. If you don't use your boat will just sit there and rot. You have to use your boat every so often, or else it becomes like a sick dog. Okay, what do you need? 30 minutes of physical activity. That doesn't mean you have to get on the treadmill every 30 minutes every day. It means that if you can, instead of sitting down and do your computer, stand up, do your computer, shift around while you're doing it. That's activities. You don't have to just sit there, right? Any physical activity, instead of taking the elevator, if your knee and your back is okay, take the stairs. That activity, and while you're working or whatever. That's some easy suggestion that can change. Okay, next. Sun exposure. This is more important in this subtropical area, not as much when you live up north because you don't see the sun as much. But down in Florida, especially for my family this year, we've been exposed to a lot of UV. We're all kind of from being out in the boat in the sun. But radiation causes skin cancer. The one that you worry about more so than anything else is melanoma. Basal cell, if you have basal cell, which is very benign, don't really need to worry about it. You have squamous cell, it's kind of in that middle line. It can be aggressive, but most of the time not. Melanoma is a different story. Melanoma is one of those that potentially can be a bad actor. So, unfortunate for some of us, the darker your pigmentation of your skin, the less likelihood for you to have melanoma. So be careful when you're out there. Wear sunscreen, cover your body from exposure to direct high noon sun. But you do need sun exposure, mostly like in the evening and the morning for your vitamin D. That's a natural way of getting vitamin D. So everything in life is a balance. Infection. Well, we talked about that already, right? Hepatitis B, hepatitis C, papilloma, which is genital warts, stomach ulcer, stomach cancer, and some of them, they believe that even parasites can predispose you to bladder cancer in some country. And also some liver fluke, which we don't see a lot in this country, can cause bile duct damage and becomes a cancer. That's more in the tropical developing country. So what can you do for infection? Well, if you do not allow the infection to fester for a long time. If you have certain infection, take antibiotics or cure it. If you can prevent it with vaccine, then you might consider it if you're in a high-risk category or a high-risk area. But vaccine, and to some people, has its own problems, which is a different topic too. Okay. So back to 2, 4, 6, 7 things you can do to reduce your cancer. That's the take-home one. If you can do 7 things, you can reduce your cancer risk by up to 40%. And one of this time I will talk about cancer screening. That will reduce your cancer risk of dying from cancer risk for another probably 30%. But that's a different topic. Thank you all for coming. And don't forget, Creation Health Seminar, that's coming up.